requested Dharma and Sangeeta to share with us how you can, or how other customers have also moved from S4HANA. So it is no more about convincing you to come for S4HANA, which is all of us have already come here. So from S4HANA, what else can be done to leverage the digital team? So that is where Dharma has put some excellent, they've created some solutions. They've also had some references, which is what they want to share with us so that we can take it up. So looking forward to an active discussion. Dharma, can I request?
Yeah, thanks, Shiva. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dharma Atluri, and what we're going to do today is I'm going to share, like Shiva said, some of my experiences on what we've been doing with our clients, talking about S4HANA, and to take the full advantage of it, right? Because it's no more about whether you as an organization are thinking about or how you can get to it. We can obviously have some of these questions answered at the end of the session if you are interested in that. But the focus is more about how important it is to be aware of the possibilities what S4HANA can offer, and also look at it from an industry point of view to say that in each of your industries, what can you do to really infuse that innovation and optimization into your business processes when it comes to day-to-day activities. And more often than not, while we keep talking about automation, while we keep talking about AI/ML, while we keep talking about some of these intelligent workflows, it is important to be able to have an understanding of what use cases are out there, what can be done, so that when you go back, have a look at your process, you're able to come out saying, okay, this is the process today I'm following, and based on the use cases or some of the functionalities, what can I do really about it, right? That is where you're going to get the real ROI with regards to not just from a monetary point of view, but in terms of the business involvement and acceptance of the solution, right? To be able to differentiate your business and to make some decisions which are data driven rather than based on your process, historical instances, and so forth. With that being said, without any further ado, let's quickly jump on to the actual context of it, right? So again, this is a quick summary of what we just talked about. As I said earlier, it's not about the fact that whether or not I should go on to, it is about what should I do after I move on to S4HANA? How do you ensure the business processes are relevant from the change which is happening, especially during the pandemic? I'm sure every one of you would have seen how important it is to have different business models and how you can adopt to different business models to keep changing, right? And that is the relevance what we're talking about here. And also in your IT systems, how you can bring about that flavor of observability, right? The flavor of being able to take data-driven, insight-based decisions without having constraints around, oh, I am still waiting for my data jobs to run. I have my people to go through different processes. Let's wait for them, right? It's more about how you can automate and optimize it. And the numbers speak for themselves, right? I don't have to keep talking about these numbers. And this is a study, not just we trying to talk about it based on our experience, but what clients have actually shared with us, right? Where we interacted with them. Now, I'll come back to this partnership later on. I'll talk about that in detail, right? I think, but before I start off, I really want to touch upon a little bit on what really is possible, what is that IBM is doing in this space, and what can you start thinking about it in this context. So before I start talking about some use cases and some examples, let me just play this video for a couple of minutes, which gives you a preview of what we call as our evolution partnership with SAP and how closely we are collaborating to bring together the industry-driven solutions and some ideas around sustainability and all other activities so that your organizations can take benefit of it and stay on the cutting edge, right? So let me just quickly play this video and we'll come back in terms of the actual conversation, and I'll talk you through the use cases after this.
We can't hear the audio, Sarma.
Okay, so is there any setting I need to change?
Yeah, when you share, there is an option for sharing computer sound. You need to enable that.
Okay, 1 second. Let me stop sharing and then share again then. I'm doing share screen. Okay, there is an option called share sound in the bottom. That is the one, right? Okay,
Yes.
let me know once you can see or hear it now.
You have to share. Yeah, we can't see anything yet.
IBM and SAP introduce
fine.
the next evolution of their partnership. Comprehensive solutions to deliver an intelligent enterprise. Build industry cloud offerings to deliver value through intelligent workflows and harness the power of automation, AI, blockchain, and IoT. Further accelerate the move to the intelligent enterprise with the next generation IBM Migration Factory to accelerate time to value, reimagine customer and employee experiences, infuse experience management into intelligent workflows, create SAP extensions through design-led approaches, transform data into trusted business value, infuse new industry machine learning algorithms into SAP solutions, leveraging IBM's next-generation platform and SAP's business technology platform. Provide a roadmap to hybrid cloud with IBM Red Hat OpenShift and SAP Cloud Platform, and enable the full scale of IBM hybrid multi-cloud capabilities. Comprehensive solutions from IBM and SAP. Let us show you how. Learn more at ibm-sap.com.
So with that being said, let's go back to the actual presentation. So we just talked about a little bit. 1 second, let me just go into full screen mode. All right. So we just talked about the evolution partnership. So what really is it, right? I mean, here is a quick summary of it on what are the different scenarios for yourself to be made aware of. First and foremost, give it a minute, think through after moving on to S4 HANA, if you've already migrated or if you have implemented it, what does it really need? One, obviously, be aware of the AIML, the situation handling templates, and various other functionalities embedded into your S4 HANA. Have an awareness around that. Second, having an awareness around that is not just enough, because yes, technically you will be aware of what SAP can do with the licensing what you've already brought. But what about the business side of it? What about the industry cloud aspect of it, right? Because what S4HANA also comes with is your BTP platform and different tiers of services which you can leverage from it with regards to business network startup pack, logistics supplier network, and also from a data to value point of view with regards to intelligent suite and intelligent technologies. But what is important is for you to be able to leverage of what is available pre-built rather than starting to do it from scratch, because you'll have to figure out a lot more nuances if that has to happen. And that is exactly what SAP has realized and has partnered with our organizations. And I'm not just talking about in case of what one use case, what we've developed. It is constantly evolving scenarios. And let me just give you an example. Intelligent vendor identification process. So for one of our clients, the business problem or the problem statement what we had was context where we were trying to evaluate multiple vendors for them from a procurement point of view. Now, the client did have an internal process in place, but the problem with that was they had to rely on their procurement insights, which are manually collected over a period of time, and historical data set saying which vendor brings in what sorts of value add. We have been able to put together the AIML content, which is available within S4 HANA, and applications on top of it, which now do a market study real time based on the vendor spread, the type of sustainability contributions which the vendors are providing to make sure the carbon footprint is clearly evaluated, and also the performance, not just by some sort of reference, but more based on their contribution to the market across in terms of client bases. And given everything is digital nowadays, we were able to give them a real-time what if scenario capabilities and predictions to make sure the decision made is a well-informed decision. But that's just one example, right? The other example, which I will talk about later, but I just wanted to give you a quick prelude to it, is in the market right now, you have a challenge, especially with pandemic and all, what products to place where, how would you position it, and what kind of strategy would you apply in order to have an effective product sales strategy, right? So we have solution which actually can handle this using the S4HANA capability along with the BTP and the industry solution, leveraging the cognitive pricing solution, what we have along with cognitive planning solution, which can help you for making sure that the right solution is placed. This is just some examples, but on the left hand side, to summarize this slide right here, two key takeaways. Depending on what your entry point is, depending on where you are in the right flow right now, think about it either as a move or innovation, or from a data point of view, or from a cloud adoption. In that case, if you do have a point of view to move on the journey to cloud some point in time in the future, on what really is the right positioning for you, right? How can you actually take advantage of not just immediate S4 HANA, but what other components you need to think about as an ecosystem before making that decision. And obviously the innovation part, where even SAP has started with high focus for a lot of clients right now with regards to sustainability and how we can make sure we are ready for that near zero based carbon footprint approach, right? So we'll talk about some of these examples in the follow-up slides today, and we will also actively discuss with you on what some of your problems or business statements would be and how or what makes sense in those contexts, right? So we'll talk about that. So with that being said, very quick context around impact solution. As I said earlier, IBM has put together almost 17 different industry-based templates into place. And each template, if you think about it, has a lot of pre-configured end-to-end processes, process flows, well-documented L1, L2, L3 process, which you can get started with, customized from an industry workflow point of view, and not just seeing SAP best practices, but also added industry value add on top of it, along with your Fiori apps enabled and activated, integrations with IBP, Ariba, and other components in the ecosystem, what is available, right? And last but not the least, getting you test scripts, which are very important from a sustainability point of view, not just a sustainability solution aspect, but to make sure your solution is sustained from a long run as and when you keep making changes and being able to relate the test scripts already available, right? So these are some very quick tidbits for you to be aware of, for you to take away, to think about, saying when you start thinking about a solution, when you start thinking about all the effort you have to put in order to have a proper S4HANA implementation, right? And if you have to optimize it, if you have to maintain it, what is needed? And that's what we've just highlighted, given the actual experience, what is covered across different clients. Now let's talk about one simple example. Earlier slide, what you've seen is an overall overview of what impact solution is all about. But what is important also is to understand the detailed breakdown for each industry, right? So I've taken one or two examples of retail and IMNC, for example, right? For this instance, we obviously have it for multiple other scenarios, and we are not going into all those today. But as you can see here, only for retail, if you think about it, as I said earlier, you have end-to-end 420 plus processes, automated test scripts in workshop certified, and then about 40 plus pre-configured security roles, which you can start your journey with, right? And let's talk about maybe one example of this and see how it really helps you, right? So this is for one of our retail clients where the journey has already started, and we are working with them as we speak on their transformation aspect of it. And the solution what we have, right, and I will talk about the solution in more detail, is around sales audit and inventory visibility modernization. What does it really mean? Well, because as you know, the clients might have multiple POS DM or point of sales data generated, or even a lot of other data points throughout an organization's sales process, which you keep generating. And SAP has now come up with a lot of other solutions to modernize that. So how do you really bridge that gap? Does it mean that I have to manually re-enter all of it or re-establish the integration, or is there a solution which can help me audit, automate the transactions from one point to the other point, bring about the data from my earlier installations or functionality into the new CAD functionality, and on top of it, add the insights, helping me with the real-time insight generation with regards to performance, revenue, and all that. And that is where there is a collaborative solution we have put together working with Cinity, where we can help you with that transition from one stage of using POS DM or other point of sales related context into CAD based functionality, right? And there are a couple of other examples here around. Let's talk about one of them. For example, promotion and pricing modernization. As I said earlier, if you have to really have market relevant positioning, if you have to have the right solution in place with regards to making sure that based on the demographic features, based on the different vendor features, based on the location, based on the regional events, based on the actual climate conditions, and as and when things keep changing, all of these factors needs to be evaluated before you can come up with any particular promotion. And just imagine with S4HANA and with the power of AI/ML and with the BTP cloud functionality, if you could have a solution which can perform multiple what if simulations for you, it can tell you what are your actual margins you're working towards with, how can you calculate some of these offers or packages which you can put forward, and the impact of it by each location in almost near real time. I'm not going to say real time, to be very candid, because I don't want to sort of give you a flavor of saying everything is real time when it will obviously be a lot more strategic, right? Because you don't want strategic decisions to be made real time, right? And that can impact based on a lot of features and factors which you need to evaluate. But there are solutions, like I said, right now for promotion and pricing modernization, which can help you in near real time perform those simulations by a user actually interacting with it. I'm not talking about an IT person sitting there trying to enter some data technically, figuring out some patterns and trying to tell to the business. It's more a user interactive approach with business working with the system, performing the what if simulation with the right business levers, and getting the value and the right recommendations based on what you can package together. That's the actual art of possible, right? From an innovation point of view, if you give it a thought on what is the next possible scenario. So here is a quick snapshot or a summary, right? If you have to think about the sales audit and inventory optimization scenario, which we just talked about a little while ago, on what are the benefits we achieve from that. It's more about obvious reductions with regards to your revenue loss due to stockouts because of actual simulations and possibility of being able to track it real time, and also because of being able to give your customers heads up with regards to what is exactly the carbon footprint or your manufacturing scenarios or where you're sourcing it from, how are you converting that into the orders, and how you can satisfactorily support your customer conversations, right? So that you don't have to delay the process. And very quickly, how to convert that from a data migration point of view with Cinity, as I mentioned earlier, to help you with the data migration aspect. Now, the next one, talking about IMNC, is about what can we do from industrial products point of view for our clients. Right. So one of the examples in this as a problem statement, if you think about, forget about the solution for a second. In this case, similar to what we did in the other context, if you think about the problem statement, it is about the pandemic challenge plus the trends evolving, where while people have been safe in the beginning, it kind of has become a norm for them with regards to the economy of how they want to spend, their preferences with regards to what they want to really prioritize now compared to what it was before, right? Either because of the industry product itself or the availability or the alternate options available, due to which you have to have a change in your business model, because the same business model what you had before will obviously not work right now because you have a complete different point of view from a customer today. So with that being said, what really is possible again is optimization part of it, where you can think about it from a user perspective to optimize the amount of effort you have in place today. From an automation perspective, due to the fact that the demand is much more. Right? Even though the pandemic has impacted us, I'm sure everyone would appreciate that the demand has increased multifolds across products given the consumption variants have changed. Now, how can BTP help in that, right? And what can the evolution partnership solution can help you on that? So it is very important from this context to understand what really is the current intelligent workflow situation. So I've talked to you about solution, but that solution alone without being embedded into a proper workflow doesn't mean much for a client. When I say client, the end user, it could be the business end user, it could be actual sales executive, it could be your customer service lead, or it could be finance manager. Every persona has a role to play, either as a consumer, as a producer. When I say consumer or as a producer, they might not be an end user completely, but within the organization, they are still getting benefited with the activity they need to perform so that the process can be optimized for that. And this particular slide sort of summarizes various possible intelligent workflows, right, which can be configured with S4HANA, leveraging again the AI/ML capabilities. There are also some things called as situation handling templates and also the built-in apps which are available already with S4HANA. And along with it, the solutions from IBM, which we've put together working very closely with SAP to help you automate some of these processes. For example, if you take a plan to manufacture intelligent workflow in the left-hand side corner bit of it, think of it from a production supervisor and from maintenance manager point of view, right? So what you're now able to do with the intelligent workflow is with IBP, with S4HANA, and with Ariba integration, you are able to validate your sourcing, you're able to validate your raw materials, based on which you're also able to perform a very effective production planning and scheduling with regards to ensuring the right vendor strategies in place, and also to have your orders validated and accordingly plan to address all those. Now, obviously, there will be an actual maintenance part of it because you have to look at predictive maintenance and asset maintenance with regards to how you can optimize the downtime, any additional maintenance work which you can avoid by being proactive, right? That being as an input to have an effective production execution and tracking with end-to-end transparent KPI-driven approach. All that is made possible today with S4HANA for you to think about it. And the reason why I wanted to have this slide kind of thrown out to you is to get that creative aspect of you to start thinking, saying how in your organization are you going to be able to convert this, right? So these are some examples, right? I mean, and don't assume or don't think that this is the only scope available out there. And I'm sure you are aware of a lot more other scenarios which you can think of as a problem statement. There are solutions available all the way from lead to order, order to cash, maintain to resolve, right? Hire to retire, plan to manufacture. Pretty much everything what you can think of is being today put together as a preemptive solution so that we can start pushing out to clients and make sure that we can quickly have them work on it. And whatever solutions or problem statements you might have, we are happy to hear about it during the Q&A. Start discussing about what you think about it, or any question you might have around this. I'm happy to answer that, right? Let's move on to the next slide. So this is another example, just taking the lead to order, which I just talked about earlier, right? So similar to production to manufacture, it is about lead to order, where you have the process built in with all these components you can see on the left-hand side, right? And you can see the actual component core aspect of it is your digital core, plus the impact solution, along with it, the ecosystem applications, right, which are your cloud SaaS products of SuccessFactors, Ariba, or whatever is needed in order for that use case, depending on what strategy as an organization you adopt, right? And on top of it, what is really important is the purple and green color, and obviously the user experience part of it, where you can first and foremost design the workflow using the built-in business process intelligence component. Because as you are aware, SAP already has business process intelligence as one of the actual offering. And along with that, the workflow concept, which means using the workflows with the right configuration, you'll be able to generate insights, you'll be able to proactively identify the variations, the compliance issues, or any particular standouts or odd man out transactions which needs to trigger a particular workflow. In this case, what has been done is we have put together a solution which can identify the opportunity, select it, provide a quote based on the master data available and based on the dimension with regards to metadata of that particular vendor or that particular opportunity and based on the business rules, and take it through the whole process by integrating with S4HANA, C4HANA, and Ariba along with success factors along the way. And you can see in the bottom the technology aspect of it, like you see in the top the business aspect of it. Right? For example, you can see how the budgetary code is created by the system leveraging C4HANA Sales and SAP integrated landscape. What you can also see is the cloud integrated functionality available throughout, which provides you with that actual benefit process with regards to streamlining the end-to-end activities. One quick point I would like to highlight here is adoption of Qualtrics. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but in case for those who have not heard about it, Qualtrics is one of the customer feedback options tools where it can, based on interaction with the system and also with the right appropriate service trigger, right, with the configuration we will do, will be able to collaborate with the users, track the performance, not just from an end user outside the organization, but within the organization as well. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the sustainability aspect of it. I'm sure some of you would already have started thinking about it, but it is very, very important given the current context we have, and SAP also has put in a lot of emphasis on the importance of sustainability and how it can help our clients, right? So when you think about it, SAP recently also announced the product release embedded within S4HANA, which allows you to track the KPIs for carbon footprint, for responsible sourcing, and also how you are able to validate the product compliance when it comes to the standards being set out by various countries. And the process has already started. As you can, I think most of you would be aware of this. In Europe, it has become very, very prevalent, and a lot of clients have already started heavy time investing on this as a major initiative, rather than waiting till it is made mandatory at a different point in time in the future, right? So you can also start thinking in that lines where you can work with your vendors to establish the right standards so that you as an organization can achieve that branding and distinguish yourself and the customer range. Because a lot of customers nowadays, they have had that awareness in their minds and they've started selecting products which are compliant with sustainability, which are contributing to the environment, and they really want to see that, right? I mean, and it slowly will become more and more active in the X generation and the Y generation and the Z generation, which is evolving today. It's no more about, okay, it is an option, right? You have to also start thinking about it. And there are solutions in place to make it happen with the least disruption possible. So what you can always do is start with a journey point where you think about how you can adopt into your journey, and you can lay out a roadmap so that you can comfortably get there instead of waiting till the last minute and being only reactive, right? It is more about how you can be thought leaders in your industry with these kind of initiatives which you can embed into your process. And it is not completely disruptive. It can be made very seamless if you plan it the right way. And that is important because that is very, very critical aspect from S4HANA point of view. If you can also put that thought process towards it. And how can it be done? There are various solutions available, various scenarios available, and you can leverage the same products what you already have today, as a matter of fact, right? I mean, it's just the additional solutions on top of it which needs to be built in along with profitability and performance management module, which SAP has. So that module can be enabled within your S4HANA instance. And along with that, you can also use some of these other third-party solutions depending on how comprehensive do you want to make your solution. You can start small without the third-party solutions with just the profitability and performance management aspect of it. But then along with that, the analytics cloud, the BTP, the business network, and S4HANA components, which you already have, right? And that with the right configuration in the system and right enablement of a digital change management with your vendors, is what can help you get on with that journey. And we can help you give some of these use cases also. And as a quick follow-up for those, just in case if you're still planning your cloud aspect, I can answer some of those questions. But before I go there, any key questions which you think are relevant for the use cases mentioned so far before I start talking about the cloud strategy and some of the other options which you can leverage in your journey to optimize that effort involved? Maybe we can take 2 or 3 questions very quickly on the sustainability or on the use case part of it, and then we can jump onto this section so that we can make it interactive. Any questions, anyone? Let me see if anything is in the chat. All right, I think there are some points in there, so let me quickly go through it. So are some information. All right, I think we have only introductions, but Shiva or others, can you quickly ask if there is any questions we have? If not, we can move on.
Nothing in the chat. If anything, whether they can ask now or put it in the chat, I can read out for you.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next section. So guys, if you have not already done, right, if you have not already moved on to S4HANA, so far we have talked about after moving on to S4HANA, what are the different use cases which you can implement, what are the ones which you can adopt, what you can think about, and also from a sustainability point of view, what is the solution you can start discussing with your users on what can be achieved. Now think about it from a cloud point of view. In case if you have not moved already, obviously these are some of the levers which are critical for you to have a planning around, right, with regards to reduction of time to market, increase value to your users, how can you reduce your TCO, right, how can you make sure that you're the cutting edge where you can take advantage of the AI/ML, built-in situation handling templates, built-in intelligent workflows, and the configuration for getting the full value out of your journey which you're about to embark upon, or what you're about to do after kind of implementing S4HANA. And the cloud component is a critical piece of it, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about RISE and what SAP can offer to you with RISE with SAP and the value around it and so forth. And that's the next big thing right now, given the thought leadership and vision what SAP and IBM for that matter has in this space. And for those who are not aware, IBM is the first and only premium supplier as of right now who can offer both consulting and supplier based scenarios along with technical managed services on IBM Cloud. I'm sure you have heard about that announcement which was made about a few days back. But the point being here is it is important for you to make sure you evaluate these components before the decision is made in terms of which cloud and what solutions are you going to deploy on the cloud. And that is what exactly I'm going to talk about today, right? And as I said earlier, you have the entire RISE with SAP construct, you have the BTP burger, the way we call it, where you can achieve the whole this use cases, whatever we just talked about it, by leveraging the business network component, the business process intelligence aspect of it, along with the intelligence suite and the actual platform itself with technology of data intelligence, right? The HANA cloud platform aspect of it and everything coming into play. So what does it really mean, right? So with regards to RISE with SAP, I'm sure you've heard about it again, but I'll just summarize it very quickly, maybe in 1 or 2 liners, and we can move on. So as I said, it is a combination of evaluating your data one time and being able to generate the insights so that you can make a decision informedly on what your decision towards S4HANA should be. Or even if you have moved on to S4HANA, you can continue to use business process intelligence with tools like Signavio, which can help you define what is your current happy path, what deviations are you making it after you agreed with your business, is it in compliance with the audit teams, and proactively identifying this for resolution, and even orchestrating your automation based on the deviations so that the intelligent workflows can get triggered with the examples what we talked about. And obviously on top of it comes your tools and services to migrate, your technical managed services offering in the back end, and how you can leverage the CPA credits in order for establishing your Adobe document service or your business network packer, right, starter pack, or your vendors and shippers and carriers to be streamlined from an end-to-end process point of view. Now that, along with what we call as breakthrough with IBM, gives you the right set of services what you can really take advantage of. Because if you have not done already, there are, as I said, different ways S4HANA can be used to get the full potential out of it. And we have the right services which can not just talk about consulting part of it, but evaluate the system to come out and help you with that business case built up if you've not done already, and even define the intelligent workflows end to end, and how you adopt it. That could be an optional service, right? In terms of depending on how you want to work on it. And we can have a conversation about it. We can just talk about it and see what are the burning questions you might have in that aspect. So this is just overview of what really is art of possible out there. A little bit breakdown, different types of engagement services. Again, we will leave this slide with you. Have a look at it. If you feel you want to have a conversation about it, we can get onto a call and discuss. But as I said, this is more about how you're making sure you have an entire journey, make kind of confirming that you're not just moving to S4HANA as a technical upgrade or a technical migration, but providing business transformation as a service to your end users, as well as improved customer feedback, right, in terms of how the customers can accept the solution. One quick point, in case if you have not moved already, you obviously would know this, but a very quick summary, you can either use a new implementation with Greenfield, or you can do a hybrid migration, where when it's a hybrid migration, you might want to not move all the data from your existing system onto the new system, like your typical system migration or conversion would do. You only want to move selective data. In that case, you can use rapid move with SNP, where it will allow you to create a shell from your existing system into the new S4HANA, and provides you with the option to selectively pick the entities where you want to move them to S4HANA, which means whatever configuration, whatever metadata you want to do a conversion while moving can be done on the fly and update into the new system, allowing you to neither waste your amount of time on new implementation nor live with the same world what you might have with system conversion, but trying to get best of both worlds depending on how you perceive this opportunity as, right? Along with that, obviously rapid discovery can help you not only for S4HANA journey, but even after S4HANA, to evaluate what areas are you taking full advantage, what areas do you actually can improve upon, and which use cases fits into what models, and being able to showcase a transformative journey on what the art of possible is and what the new to be model would be. And if you have not moved already, we have accelerated move center, which based on different t-shirt sizes can help you very quickly migrate from your on-premise onto the cloud system, right? From a cloud point of view, either if you're on ECC and trying to move on to S4HANA, or from S4HANA to S4HANA if you want to really migrate as well. And this is a rapid move component I was talking about, where it generates an empty shell, it translates that into S4HANA, and then it moves the data from a data transformation point of view, so that you only move the selective data, right? And one of the key aspect of a use case which you need to think about, it's not just about industry use cases, or it is not just about moving to S4HANA, as I said earlier. This is a very, very key aspect as an organization you need to start planning, if not already. And what I mean by that is, when you are moving into S4HANA, or if you've already moved it, try to keep the digital core as clean as possible. And what I mean by that is, when you design your processes around S4HANA, unlike in the old world in ECC or in ECC 6 or Business Suite on HANA and all, do not try to implement everything within digital core, because there are different systems to do the different functionalities in the right way. And that will help you sustain your investment. And you might have a planning requirement where you have to do a lot of vendor planning, production planning, and a lot of manufacturing related validations in what if scenarios. So think about it from an IBP point of view, where instead of trying to sit with the old product of APO within S4HANA as an extension, because there is an extension compatibility package which SAP can offer, But if you can remove that from there and map it to what is actually the right solution, you're in a situation now where you don't have to worry about the product roadmap, you don't have to worry about the relevancy. You are going to get the best of technology features so that the users can have multiple what if simulation possibilities. And tomorrow, when you're about to upgrade your S4 HANA, your maintenance cost comes down drastically. Another example for that is extensions. I'm sure you're actually aware of this. You would have heard from multiple people what extensibility means, what are different patterns, side-by-side extension, in-app extension, right? You have heard a lot about that. I'm not going to tell you what that extension concepts mean today, but I'm going to tell you an actual use case of a client, a large consumer product client where we have actually implemented this and what it meant for them, right? As an example, they had 7,700 custom objects or extensions built into their system, right? Just as to give you the order of magnitude. Now imagine the amount of effort they have to put in every time they have to do an upgrade, right? I'll have to literally validate all my processes, perform an end-to-end testing, and confirm that these extensions are not a problem. But what we are doing now for them is we have moved those extensions into what we call as categories of either in-app extension, where it is for sure needed, or classic extensions in some cases, and majority of it moved out into side-by-side extensions onto BTP platform, where these extensions are built as an add-on to the clean core, which means now I have functionality outside digital core where not needed in S4 HANA. I'm keeping my S4 HANA clean, and the extensions are supported outside so that when I do the upgrade for S4 HANA, the extensions are not impacted because SAP takes care of that part. By doing this, we've been able to help the client reduce their overall effort from an actual technical validation and testing by almost 60%. And that's a huge gain if you think about it from a magnitude of amount of change. And it is not just about right now, why should I do it, right? It is about how do you plan it to make the model sustainable from an actual point of view, from a future roadmap point of view, and how you can deploy the model to your users seamlessly. And that's all about clean core approach and why it is important to have that thought process right now along with your S4HANA. And this can be done after S4HANA implementation also, right? Obviously, there will be effort to clean it up, move it, and adopt it, but that is going to go long-term downstream to help you from a business model point of view. And as I said earlier, it's not just about a one-time thing where you implement it and leave it off. It's about continuous process where you have to keep looking up on these use cases, have a roadmap, make sure you have a hypothesis validation saying what KPI in my business is going to impact, what is the root cause analysis, how is it going to help with my point of view of whether a customer or a business or a finance or from an operations point of view, and have that adopted so that don't wait till someone comes to you and says, okay, I want to optimize this process, right? So there are a lot of solutions available already in S4 HANA today, and being aware of it is very important. And along with that, like I said, the use cases what we're building with IBM and SAP are very critical for you to make sure you take advantage of it rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. Because by leveraging these products, you're able to get the right support to it rather than you figuring out the various integration points and ending up doing the same effort along with the support cost in the future if you do it in a different way than what it is supposed to be, right? And there are different models which you can evaluate, look at it, which fits the right way and how you can really take advantage of it. And also start thinking about few of these key aspects of garage-based approach, right? Because gone are those days when every requirement is evaluated thoroughly, right? You beat the crap out of the idea, you go through n number of simulations before it is implemented. Try to think of it as a adopt quick and fail fast approach, right? So if you do it in a small portion where any new idea which you're getting, instead of putting in a lot of money on research on that, try evaluating the solutions available, take a small scope, do it fast, and even if you fail, that's okay, right? Because sometimes it's important that you're validating it rather than not doing anything about your S4HANA investment. You target investment in IT to provide it to business, and the way it is possible is with rapid prototyping, garage-based approach, and how you can bring in the design thinking based model, right? So that is the key aspect, and that is very important for you to ensure the user centric or the user experience component is at the middle of every solution you develop, right? And that is where the intelligent workflows, the insights, the streamlining of the user experience, the AI/ML components, the business process intelligence, all of it comes together. Last but not the least, from an application managed services point of view, it is very important for you to think about how are you going to streamline your managed services, right? I'm not talking about technical managed services because either you already have that technical managed services done by a hosting partner, or if you're thinking about RISE with SAP and you've evaluated it, you're handing over the technical managed services scope to SAP to manage that. And it is comparatively pretty much the same, right? Or much more effective that way compared to having it from the hosting partner, because you are going to get a lot of value adds in terms of the strategy, in terms of the future roadmap, what SAP has in this area, and what can you get from it working with your strategic partners like IBM and SAP together. But what is also important from an application managed services point of view is, now that you have moved on to S4HANA, you need to think about self-healing, proactive monitoring, right? Self-remediation, right? DevOps way of working, and especially with S4HANA 2020, now that we know that your configuration and customization both can be handled with Git CTS based approach, you need to start thinking about it in that line so that you are de-risking the actual support cost by having manual testing, manual development, and manual change management process. And it's also having testing COE and automation COE so that you can go ahead and process the data more effectively, right? From an application management services point of view. And here are some KPI levers which you can think around that for you to sustain that in the long term. For example, having the right job monitoring aspect of it, where you can proactively get the alerts not just from an application layer, but from an infra layer, and being able to correlate the IT alert to your business model. Imagine the possibility of one of the clients where the problem statement has been is a client has the IT monitoring in place, where whenever a system goes down or whenever an application goes down, they're able to say, what does it mean from an IT perspective? But they don't know what the impact of that means to the business. Now, what we've been able to do is leveraging S4HANA, leveraging digital operations, and leveraging the actual BTP platform and the business process intelligence component. We are able to tell the business that if there is a potential IT alert, what impact in revenue does it mean for that business journey? And vice versa, if any activity happens in business and if there is a downline in terms of performance, not just failure, performance downline as well, right? When the performance is degrading, you're able to track it back to the IT events so that a proactive action can be taken to update the IT system infrastructure for you to be able to say, how can I improve on the business part of it, not having for something to really fail. So that's a level of proactiveness is what is available for you to explore on and for you to think about it so that you can move away from conventional way of support model, because that's really way past now, right? It is about how you can focus on innovation and rather all those incidents, proactive monitoring, handle your day-to-day operations so that you can get huge value out of your investment, right? That's the thought process you really need to have. Before I open for questions, let me quickly also talk about a little bit about the partnership, right? Just in case, because I wanted to first talk about the use cases, the art of possible before taking you down to the actual case studies, or rather the capabilities part of it, right? For your information, just sort of to show you This is not something which is built on last 1 or 2 years, right? IBM and SAP have been working on this really for a long time, and we are here to support you in your journey, how you can take the best out of your S4HANA investment, and how you can make sure that you are taking the right decisions on your journey towards that art of possible, right? So that's a quick summary I wanted to show you, and our presence with regards to various verticals and offerings, like I said, from all the way from initial advisory services to implementation, managed services, AI/ML based analysis, putting together pilots for you by implementing intelligent workflows, bringing together various components and giving you the right matrix to help you decide which component sits in what solution so that it is aligned with overall S4HANA roadmap as well. Yeah. With that being said, let me open up for Q&A and any questions any of you might have, and any problem statements you want to discuss, whichever points you might have. Shiva, Sangeeta, others?
Thanks, Amma. I don't see any questions in the chat, so probably we'll just wait for the colleagues to post any questions which they might have.
Yeah, sure. And I'm just going to put in my email ID in case if you want to reach out offline, because it's a lot which we've shared today. So just to sort of let you know, you can reach out to us and we can have a candid conversation and discuss or exchange thoughts, right? We can talk about some of these points as well, right? I mean, feel free to reach out to me and we can kind of stay in touch and discuss about the possibilities. Yeah. Okay, I think I'll give it back to you, Shiva, now.
Sure.
I'll stop sharing.
Anyone having any questions for Dharma? Probably we can raise. Okay. If not, probably Dharma has put his email ID. So anyone wanting to reach for any detailed clarifications can always reach out to them. And thanks a lot for joining the call today.
Yep. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, Dharma.